Greetings, everyone, and welcome. April the 8th, and as you can see by the thumbnail, which I'll move directly to, we see the perfect playbook of Putin here unfolding. I'm calling it Putin's shadow war in action. We know the United States, led by Trump and his administration, fighting the entire world, basically, with tariffs, including penguins. We know that China, led by Xi Jinping, standing up and saying, no, we're not going to bow to your tariffs. We're not going to bow to your threats. We shall see what unfolds on that over the coming days, and we'll talk more about it in just a moment. Additionally, at the same time, Hegseth down in Panama calling out the Chinese invasion of the Panama Canal and that America is ready to fight down there in Panama. While that is happening, there is silence, absolute crickets about Russia. Nothing about Putin. So what's he doing? I'm telling you, he's laughing in the background and he's loving everything that is unfolding in the world while Putin is being ignored. Now, today, the United Nations Security Council called by Russia because they want to defend that their attack against Kryvyi Rih, which we have confirmed with video, which the world has confirmed was an attack on a children's playground, a cafe that had no military in it whatsoever, no meetings, no military vehicles, and residential buildings. Unfortunately, so many people, including children, losing their life in that attack on April the 4th. Russia lying at the United Nations today. Nebenzia just lets it rip. And what happens? Crickets. We just let these statements unfold. Here it is.
Mr. President, the formal reason for the European supporters of the Kyiv regime to convene today's Security Council meeting was the April 4th strike by the Russian armed forces on one of the restaurants that are in Kryvyi Rih, and according to Russian Defense Ministry, as a result of the high-precision hit of high-explosive missile on the site of a meeting with commanders of units and Western instructors, the enemy losses amounted up to 85 servicemen and officers of foreign countries, as well as up to 20 vehicles. The operation carried out caused undeniable damage to the command staff of both the armed forces of Ukraine and a number of NATO armies that had been sending their instructors to Ukraine. And we would like to recall in the context that we have repeatedly warned that troop concentrations, as well as Western officers and instructors sent to assist the Kyiv regime, are legitimate targets for the Russian army. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it, right in front of the world to see. 85 servicemen, 20 vehicles, and if you're Western instructors and NATO and a buildup of troops, you become a legitimate target. Unfortunately, they literally are sitting there on the Security Council spewing this garbage and lies, and the world, led by right now the Donald Trump administration, just let it unfold, let it happen. And yes, I'm calling out the American administration because it's on our country in New York City, the United Nations. We're allowing this nation to wipe out Ukraine, destabilize the world, and spew that garbage. It is absolutely unacceptable. Revoke his visa and kick him out. That's easy play. But no, unfortunately, we're believing this. Now, yesterday I had to call myself out and say I was wrong. Thank you guys so much for your kind comments. And Greg, thank you for coming and saying and telling us. I know and have met and sat right beside Victoria Spartz where she told me, Greg, I'm for Zelensky. Greg, I'm for my country, Ukraine. Greg, I'm standing against Russia. Greg, everything that is happening over there must be defeated. It's so evil. The propaganda's all through Washington, D.C., and our lawmakers believe everything. It's unfortunate what is happening, but I'm standing here fighting for my country. We know where that went. It went to pot, as evidently something has happened because she has went the complete opposite direction, and today she doubles down. The Spartz saga continues. You can see at the bottom there, Georgi Tukny, who is the foreign ministry spokesperson, said, unlike Victoria, all of our land has always been and always will remain Ukrainian. A direct statement to Victoria Spartz' article yesterday in the Telegraph. She replies, and it's ridiculous, guys. A sitting American congressman, I would not be surprised that Zelensky UA,
President Zelensky's handle, is paying the Telegraph to fabricate false headlines to continue making money on the blood of the Ukrainian people. Really, Victoria? I am proud of my Ukrainian heritage of the real warriors. Really? Not cowards in Zelensky mafia wiping out patriots. I have no words. It's right here. Go look it up for yourself. Facts speak for themselves. And this will continue. I'm telling you, it will continue. Now, Panama Canal. Pete Hegseth heads down to the Panama Canal, makes these big statements. I'm going to play this video for you. U.S. to free Panama Canal from China. So China actually has invaded and is in complete control of the Panama Canal. And I'm not saying that China doesn't have a lot of industry at the Panama Canal. But if I remember correctly, the Trump administration already had one term. And where was the Panama Canal during that time? Was China not there then? So I don't understand the timing of all of these things. But Hegseth being there, very direct words. Several U.S. warships to arrive in Panama to strengthen our security, says U.S. Defense Secretary Hegseth. The Panama Canal is under threat because Chinese companies have a critical presence there, increasing the risk of espionage. China did not build and will not use the Panama Canal as a weapon. U.S. will free Panama Canal from Chinese influence. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is on the same day where the United States is fighting over the tariffs as well. And you have this rhetoric, these words of invasion and security and a weapon and espionage. Listen, I'm all for freedom and security and justice in our world. But what you do when you choose the wrong words, you're not helping. You're actually causing more harm to the end result. And that is, we want our world to be a safe place. We want our world to be a fair place. We want economies to thrive. We want people to come together and make differences. And we do not do that through division. We do that through the message of hope and justice and light. Now, here it is. Here's Hegseth speaking.
Our relationship is growing in part to meet Communist China's rising challenge. China-based companies continue to control critical infrastructure in the canal area. That gives China the potential to conduct surveillance activities across Panama. This makes Panama and the United States less secure, less prosperous, and less sovereign. And as President Donald Trump has pointed out, that situation is not acceptable. We are grateful to President Molino, Minister Abrego, and your teams, along with the Panama Canal Authority, for responding to these threats and safeguarding the canal. President Molino's decision to withdraw from the Belt and Road Initiative reflects his government's clear understanding of China and the threat it poses. I want to be very clear. China did not build this canal. China does not operate this canal. And China will not weaponize this canal. Together with Panama in the lead, we will keep the canal secure and available for all nations through the deterrent power of the strongest, most effective, and most lethal fighting force in the world. Together, we will take back the Panama Canal from China's influence. And we will do this along with other capable, like-minded allies and partners. This is what peace through strength looks like.
So there you have it, folks. That is the statement from Hegseth down there in Panama. And you can just hear the rhetoric. The rhetoric continues. The headlines coming out, especially in regard to China. J.D. Vance today calling Chinese peasants. And the Foreign Ministry of China has now responded, calling him ignorant and disrespectful. All we're seeing is escalation. Now, I want to move to talking about China and the tariffs. Oh, by the way, what about Russia? Nothing. Nothing about Russia. We just let them spew their venom in New York City today and wage war on Ukraine while the rest of the world... Oh, I have some breaking news coming in right now. Penguins have arrived at the White House to discuss tariffs. Breaking news. I'm sorry, I just couldn't help that one. I just couldn't help it. Sorry. But the Penguins have arrived at the White House to discuss tariffs. Now, let's go about serious tariff talk, and that would be about China. Tariffs on China. American companies importing goods from China will face higher costs, which could lead to higher prices for electronics, tools, and household goods. By the way, the Trump administration coming out today talking about those electronic goods and specifically about Apple iPhones, saying everything will be okay, meaning that they do not understand how globalized the economy is. It's not as simple as they think. We'll leave it there. Of course, we also know that Elon Musk and Trump having a disagreement and the White House saying, oh, boys will be boys. Listen, we're talking about global destabilization, and they are joking about boys will be boys. Due to rising prices, many companies may reduce purchases from China or seek alternative supplies from other countries. That's understandable. China is outraged by the new tariffs. Beijing has promised, and this is what I want to focus on, to fight to the end, calling the move blackmail. We are awaiting China's response. And this is the point I'm trying to make. It doesn't make sense. If you want to go after tariffs and fight this way, you do not exacerbate the situation by having the statements come out so directly from Hegseth about that. Yeah, make the statements you want to make. But all we're trying to do right now, obviously out of the United States, is inflame China while there's still crickets about Putin. J.D. Vance making his statements, inflaming the situation. And they just believe, I guess, that Xi Jinping is just going to bow down. Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin are in a partnership. It is not only between themselves, but it is between the governments. They have a partnership on paper signed. I do not understand why we are missing the big point here coming from the United States, absolutely misinterpreting the deep ties and relationship between Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin. Now, if we move on, the White House confirming this afternoon that increased import and tariffs on Chinese goods will take effect starting Wednesday, local time, according to Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt, and that's noon. Meanwhile, Trump says he's convinced that China wants a deal with the U.S. on tariffs, but Beijing doesn't know how to make it happen. He added that if China reaches out to Washington to negotiate, here comes the narcissism, he would be incredibly generous. All the while, crickets about Russia and crickets about Vladimir Putin. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here. What are your thoughts? A lot of information covered there over the last 13 minutes. Thank you for leaving a comment, your opinion. What are your thoughts on the tariffs? What are your thoughts on escalating the situation in Panama? The statement in the UN today. Spartz escalating. Attacking Zelensky wide out. Where do we go from here? We'll see. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing, liking, commenting. Appreciate all of you as we stand together to fight for truth and justice. Have a good day.